Hey guys, Coney here, and welcome back again to another Let's Play of Love Money Rock and Roll. Now we last left off from the previous episode at the time when Nikolai woke up early after the events happened on the fourth episode of the series. Not just for the sake of his attendance, but he just wanted to go back to the good old days and such, with the inclusion to the fact that the school principal warned him about his behavior and his attendance as well, to the point that there might be a possibility that he'll be expelled from the school. So with that, he left early, and he forgot that Himitsu was about to visit his place again to make breakfast to start up the day as usual. But well, you guys know what he did. Went to a nearby ramen shop, ordered a bowl of ramen, already filled up his belly, and went to school pretty smoothly. Until he went past the school gates, and Catherine was there near the shoe locker. Catherine was surprised to see Nikolai going back to usual self, but as you might have guessed, Nikolai thinks that Catherine was mocking him because of, well, went early to go to school. You know, his kind of behavior on that episode, I would say. And because of that, he went to his class at a fast pace. Kyosuke noticed this and asked him, "Where have you been yesterday?" And yep, Nikolai was completely pissed about what happened earlier, to the point that Kyosuke decided to not get into his space, or I guess he could leave things even worse on that one. Well, during class, with the following events that are constantly happen out of nowhere, like example, a note, a call with Ichinose, a connection about his father's work, puts him in such an immense pressure to the point he had banged his head so hard on his desk. And as you can see, the teacher and other students notice what he's doing. The teacher even asks if Nikolai is okay. To his reply, couldn't better, just getting stuff out of his head. The teacher didn't mind naturally, but he warned not to interrupt his or her class. Just, you know what, Nikolai, just do what the hell you want. Just don't make a fuss or drama here, okay? And the classes ended, Michael went up and talked to Nikolai about their conversation at the bar on the fourth episode of the series. And if you haven't watched this episode before or the overall series that I have, the link is in the description below, or maybe just go ahead and click at the top right corner of your screen. Now, as I said earlier, the topic was about Catherine and such, and that also included her return as well. And until Catherine went up and leave the class, to the point that Michael noticed her and somehow come up to a reason as to why Nikolai is acting Nikolai is acting indifferently. And Nikolai heard what Michael said, and what happens next was not what I was expecting. Nikolai was furious to Michael, saying always poking noses on each other's business. Because of that, he left the class and tried to regaining his composure until a choice option has popped out whether we should go to the roof or go to Himitsu. Well, I picked Himitsu because I like her, and she's cute. I mean, what else could I say? She's my favorite character ever since from the early access. Now, after I made the choice on that one, Nikolai went to Himitsu class just to get out of the early situation I mentioned before, and asked her how her things go by, how was class, and such, until he brought up Catherine into the discussion. And to her reply, Himitsu was happy to see Catherine again after a year and a half of, I guess, no communication. I don't know, just that would be my assumption, I guess. And as for Nikolai, it's the complete opposite, and you know what happens next. But after that, he left again, and he was completely embarrassed of what he has done. Not to mention, shouting and ranting right in front of Himitsu and her classmates in her classroom. And because of that, he decided to apologize both Himitsu and Michael in order to lessen the tension that he's feeling right now. Well, he was about to head back to Himitsu to apologize until he heard another voice talking to Himitsu, and that voice was none other Catherine herself. And both of them had a girl talk, I would say, or maybe, as I experienced on that one, it's more like an argument to me. And their discussion is literally just about her return and also her feelings to Nikolai, or maybe Nikolai's feelings. I can't determine which one. And literally, Nikolai just standing near the room behind the walls and overheard the conversation between the two until Catherine said if only he knew the whole truth. Now, what truth is she referring to? And honestly, I don't know. I have no clue what she's referring to. I have no idea why she returned in the first place. And because of that conversation, Nikolai did, and because of that, and because of the conversation, one of the senpai or the classmates, Himitsu's classmates, noticed that Nikolai was standing near their room, and to the point Nikolai noticed it, and he quickly ran away and going back to his classroom. Kyosuke noticed it, asking if he's okay, and yes, he is completely fine. Looking for air to breathe, I would say. And then he come up and go to Michael's seat to apologize after what he had done to him. And as for his reply, he is completely fine. It's his nature, I would say, from what I've seen so far on the series. Until another choice just popped up again, whether we should look for answers or go home with Himitsu. Now, honestly, as I said earlier ago, I like Himitsu, so I picked the second one, which is go home with Himitsu. And then they walk together, going all the way to home. They're having a conversation, and even Nikolai brought up the discussion between Catherine and her, Himitsu specific. What are they, what are they discussing? What are they talking about? Anything that somehow that may be relatable, or something that doesn't want to, trigger Nikolai and such. And as you might have guessed, they're just a little bit sweet moment, just like a sibling relationship and stuff. And one thing that I really love most is also the one of the most memorable thing that happened to me as well. And that is Nikolai carrying Himitsu over her shoulder and run as fast as possible all the way to his home. Actually, I did that too. That was a couple years ago, and it was I want to relive that moment. If only pandemic never existed before. And because of that, Himitsu was not happy, but he felt relief. She felt relieved after that. And I gotta say, Himitsu was as I gotta say, I love Himitsu. I love them both. They're suited to be together. And then he went back inside, and he just came out again just to buy another food. I would say, I can't determine what just happened there. And then he come back again, and then another call just popped out again, and Ichinose was about to call and even asked Nikolai, and are you still looking for Akira Shinji? But to be fair, no. To be specific, no, he didn't actually do it, because Ichinose said that Akira Shinji is already dead. I don't know, okay? But that's what Ichinose said on the previous episode. So that is the current progress that I have left off on the previous episode. So that is why in today's video, we are going to continue for the 6th episode of the series. Now, before we continue, I only noticed that there are 80% of or watching all of the videos that I have in my channel did not subscribe. So I think this is your chance not to subscribe, and also hit the notification bell to get notified for the upcoming contents of my channel, and also hit the like video if you find this video enjoyable, and also leave the comments or any thoughts about today's episode. But anyway, this is the 6th episode of Love, Money, Rock and Roll. Enjoy. Okay, that might be Himitsu waking me up, I would say. Someone's voice was ringing in my head. It felt like I was being lobotomized. Get up, Nikakin! Get up! Oh, morning, Himitsu. I arduously opened my right eye. The pain abruptly jumped to the left half of the brain. Here you go. Himitsu let out a relieved sigh. Today's Saturday. I grumbled and turned to the other side. It's Friday. Get up. She started to shake me by the shoulder. Enough already. I finally grew sick a bit and jumped out of bed. See, it wasn't that hard. Himitsu was smiling, as if everything was fine. Although, why would something not be fine? I looked at the clock. She was more or less keeping to her daily regimen. So why did I feel so terrible then? Breakfast? You're not getting borscht today. She puffed out her cheeks just like a hamster. What's so funny? Nothing. You just look amusing. Himitsu blushed, and her gaze darted back and forth across the room. Yeah, amusing. Like a little hamster. She stomped her foot, hissed, and left the room. Oh boy, too early for that one, Nikolai. Shimizu always looked funny when she was angry, but it was all mostly a game. She was used to hiding her true feelings and emotions, and even I couldn't always say what she was thinking at any given moment. Laid out on the table was a traditional Japanese breakfast. I reckon it wasn't the best time to turn my nose up and pretend to be a gastronome, so I silently sat down and started to eat. Oh, highlighted. Itadakimasu, I often translate it as a humbly receive. Thanks for the food. Uh, mm-hmm. Right. Himitsu said in a deliberately serious tone. Mm-hmm. I snorted in response with my mouth full. Nikko-kun, you don't pay attention to what's happening around you at all. What do you mean? You sleep like a log. What if someone were to break into the house at night and rob you? And what would they take exactly? I'll laugh, choke, cough, and jump. Alright. Nikolai, don't talk when your mouth is full. Alright? Don't fucking talk when your mouth is full. That's it. Jumped up to get myself a glass of cold water. How would it Thebes know? The house looks nice from the outside. Uh-huh. So you really think robbers pull off their jobs on a whim? Without investigating first? And how would they investigate? Well, I have no idea. Or do you think I earn a side cash by robbing houses at night? It's just that yesterday I saw a suspicious man nearby. A suspicious man? Yes, he was looking at something through your windows. I let out an incredulous sniff, which embarrassed Himitsu. Or maybe it was just my imagination. Of course, a lot had happened over the last several days, but I couldn't just write everything off as schemes of the enemies of the people. Moreover, in this case, Himitsu seemed to just want some attention. And she had her reasons. I really had been ignoring her a lot lately. So, what was so suspicious about this man of yours? I grinned. He's not mine. Himitsu stood up and started to furiously wash the dishes. Hey, I didn't finish the food. I tried to take back the bowl of miso. It was almost full. You don't like my cooking anyway. Breakfast is the most important meal of the day. I even had to get up from my chair to win back my rightful serving. Yep, water flow. Yep. The water flowed from the tap so strongly it broke against the base of the sink and splashed everywhere. Soon, Himitsu's school uniform grew wet, dark spots appearing here and there. Well, what do you think I should do? Go to the police? She didn't reply. I'm not saying it was your imagination or that you made it all up. It's just that real life is much more complicated. How would you know? She responded in a dull voice. It seemed like I shouldn't be making fun of her so stubbornly. I slowly got up, approached her, and hugged Himitsu from behind. Come on. Sorry. I slowly whispered into her ear. She's squirming, I would say. Nikko-kun, don't. She tried to break free, but the attempt was reluctant, effortless, as though she wasn't sure if she really wanted to. These displays of affection weren't anything unusual for us. I didn't know how typical Japanese would react to something like this, but Himitsu was used to it. And I was too, even more so. It was only lately that I had noticed something start to change in our relationship. Maybe it was due to Catherine's return, or maybe the two of us just grew older. And the things trivial for grade schoolers started to gain much more meaning. Alright, let's go already, or we'll be late. Nonetheless, I had absolutely no desire to make excuses. I let go of Himitsu and took a couple steps back. Fine, I'll just go change quickly. She replied as if nothing happened, pointing at her soaked school uniform. Hey, that doesn't look like soaked uniform to me. It's all clean, I would say. I was standing outside, waiting for Himitsu. It was a typical morning for this part of Tokyo. Nothing suspicious about it. Surely that was just her imagination yesterday. Although the notes, the call, I suddenly felt uneasy. Shall we go? Himitsu stepped out of the gates of her house in a clean, dry uniform. Huh. We were given multiple sets. Of course. So I have a spare too? Of course you do. It's in the closet. I wanted to ask which closet she meant, but the words never left my mouth, and I felt an unbearable shame about my behavior today, and the way I treated her in general. And here's that ramen place. We stopped near my favorite restaurant. Wait, you mean this one? Okay. Hmm. Himitsu said, clearly not interested. Want to go there sometime? Nikko-kun, how many times have I told you? Well, it's just that you're just always cooking, and this is for a change. There were so many thoughts swirling in my head the entire way. So many words sat at the tip of my tongue, and now I was mumbling something unintelligible. Would that be a date? She asked snarkily. Well, yeah, I guess. It only made things worse. Himitsu blushed and lowered her head so much it seemed like she was apologizing. Fine. Sometime. Okay. I reached the school almost in speed walk. Himitsu could barely keep up with me. Hmm. The class was even less crowded than usual, which came as no surprise. It was Friday after all. But then, what was I doing here? Hi. At least Kiyosaki was right on cue. Hey there, I guess. You look all gloomy early in the morning. Everything all right? Couldn't be better. I quipped and glanced around the class. Catherine's desk was empty. Since the start of the morning, Himitsu was leading my thoughts away from her, either intentionally or unintentionally. But yesterday's argument and all of its details were still fresh before my mind's eye. And now, of all times, it seems somehow especially important, like a battle between two terrible monsters from Greek mythology. Have you seen Catherine today? No? Why? No reason. I'm just asking. Just asking. Huh. A disgusting smell spread from one of his ears to the other. Yeah, exactly. I was trying not to react to the provocation. Nick, we never talked about it, and it's been 4 days already. Nothing to talk about. I was starting to boil up inside, but couldn't let another snap like yesterday's happened. There's nothing to talk about because I know as much as you do. Okay, but if you need anything, of course, I know where to go. Certainly not to him. I stood up and approached Michael, who, as custom had it, was reading a book. Hey, remember yesterday's incident? I tried to look as friendly as possible, but still not too friendly. He raised his head and gave me a slight nod. How's it going? Depends on how you look at it. And how should I look at it? Depends on what you mean. Kiyosake's anime philosophy wasn't exactly fun, but Michael's pretentious pseudo-Buddhism would drive anyone mad. Alright, I see you're in no mood to talk. I wanted to ask if you've seen Catherine. No, I see. Thanks. Well, there was no point in continuing the conversation. Of course, Michael wouldn't bombard me with questions, but he also didn't need to. He had other ways to dig into people's souls. I asked several classmates to no result. My vain attempts must seem strange from outside, but I didn't care. And everyone had long learned they could expect anything from me. But the thought of Catherine was haunting me, because knowing her, left without a farewell, returned without a warning. What if yesterday's fight with Himitsu was the last straw for her? Naturally, she had to stay in Japan, but changing schools wasn't out of the question, and I didn't even know where she lived. There was the possibility that she and her mother had returned to their old apartment, but I always thought there were no such happy coincidences in real life. But the school had to have information about her, home address included, which meant I could try looking into the teacher's room. I'd been there many times and had a vague idea of where things were kept. On the other hand, it was the very peak of the school day. There was a high risk of being caught. There was no guarantee I'd be able to find her personal file among the piles of paper. I was shuffling about stupidly, unable to make a decision. Meanwhile, there were just 5 minutes left until the bell. Alright, go to the teacher's room or do nothing. Now, for my personal experience, I actually went to the teacher's room before, just to get an additional pen, I would say, and the teacher caught me, but I actually gave her a reason as to why I stole her ballpen, because I don't have any additional ballpens to write for lectures and something, but in this case, it's not good. It's not a good idea to say because you're looking for on a private information about a person that you were looking for. Not to mention, Nikolai want to look the info of her address where she lived right now since she's already here in Japan. But we have here in the Philippines called data privacy, in which we are not allowed to leak any infos about a specific person's content without a consent from the person who, well, the person who was in it, the file as well. So I have to take a safety option right here, so I could go with the do nothing because this one is kind of risky and there might be lead into any consequences that might affect the entire story of the game. No, it was a stupid idea after all. No one would give me her dress, and hoping for the teacher's room to be empty was even more stupid. I simply went to wander the school, soon ending up in the cafeteria. The bell had already rung, so there was no reason to hurry to class. To kill some time, I bought a cup of green tea and a jelly bun. You mean the jelly donut, Nikolai? Yeah, nothing beats the good old jelly donut, ladies and gentlemen. The cafeteria was empty, except for one table. A girl sitting behind it. Ooh, I wonder who that is. Looking carefully, I recognized Saya-chan, Mitsu's classmate and best friend. Oh, I thought it was Ellie. Maybe it did the same thing that actually happened on the music room, I would say. But yeah, she's not here. Saya-chan is here. Any's company better than none. Hey there, you escaping too? I sat down across the table from her, lazily sprawling myself on the chair. Anakin-san, just call me Nick. I flashed her a disarming smile, but Saya seemed unaffected. We've got physical education now, and I strained my leg recently. What about you? Why are you here while everyone else is studying? Relax, I told you. I'm skipping. Typical. Her blatant contempt was fighting against the code of conduct that demanded unconditional respect for those older than her, even if I was only older by a year. Well, thinking about it, she almost always treated me this way. And the reason for that was Himitsu. Saya was convinced I treated her badly, didn't respect and ignored her feelings. Unfortunately, she was mostly right. Oh, come on. Don't start again. How's Himitsu doing, by the way? Are you really interested? No, of course not. I only just saw her this morning, but what else am I supposed to say when you meet everything coming out of my mouth at knife point? It's just your imagination. No, it's not. You're just convinced everyone should act exactly to your standards. That'd be nice. She grinned. Okay, I see you're in no mood to talk. I guess I'll go then. Why did you even come in the first place? To fight? I was already about to stand up, but in the end decided to achieve victory in this stupid argument. Oh, come on, Nikolai, please, just... Come on, please. No, goddammit, to pick on you. Everyone else is studying. There's no one else around. No one at all? Yes, no one at all. Don't be so full of yourself. You're just convinced you're right. So typical. I mockingly imitated her. Wow, Himitsu's really lucky to have you. Well, she at least has someone. And what about you? Any man would drown in your bile on the very first date. Oh no, Nikolai, what have you done? Alright, Saya's lips trembled. She was about to cry. Oh no, I'd overdone it. Yes, you completely overdone it, Nikolai. Jesus Christ. Okay, sorry, but you started it. Now the girl looked completely miserable. After all, she was just a child and had probably never experienced any real difficulties. The theatrical arrogance and self-confidence were protective masks to hide her insecurities. Unfortunately, you could hardly say the gods of Japan had gifted Saya with beauty. It's sometimes said that girls choose bad-looking friends to appear better in contrast. I wasn't sure if Himitsu ever thought about this, but the fact remained. Alright, sorry. Am I allowed to say this on YouTube? Anyway, I'm just going to censor that word out. Asshole, jerk, idiot. She jumped up from her chair, threw an unfinished bun at me, and ran to the cafeteria's exit. Well, so much for conversation. But hey, at least you got an additional bun right there. I mean, what else could I say for this one? Come on. Oh, look. Speech, I say. The lessons were running their course, and the class was unusually quiet. I didn't learn Catherine's address, and neither did I know why she didn't come to school today. But how's that strange exactly? She disappeared from my life for 1.5 years, and now I was already panicking after a single day. It was an unpleasant feeling, as if nothing had changed after her return. I kept agonizing over things and working myself up as I had before. But now I had a real opportunity and reason to talk with her and try to figure out our relationship. A real reason for hope. There was no tangible goal ahead, no script for victory or defeat, only gray days that followed each other like gray clouds in the sky on a rainy day. I didn't believe everything would be like it was before. I didn't believe it would be much worse, because that would simply not be possible. I just wanted to be understood. Maybe then something would change. I felt like I was terminally ill, with only 50 or 60 years left to live. Maybe in this situation it would make sense to try and get the most out of life, to live every day like the last. But almost anyone would throw their hands up. Why strain yourself if the end is inevitable? And only one thing could still change something for me. The belief that everything I did wasn't in vain. That someone else needed all of it as well. Maybe, somewhere deep inside, I was waiting for an apology too, even though all hope had long been lost. Look! Look everyone! I didn't just give up. Didn't surrender my arms and cease to struggle. Yes, I lost, but I fought till the very end. I did everything I could. Time and time again it seemed to me that everyone was silently laughing at me. Even Michael, even Kyosuke. Because they knew how much of a loser I was. If only they could understand. The only one who wasn't laughing was Himitsu, because she was always close. She saw everything, from beginning to end. She understood. She cared. She was like a nurse on a battlefield, caring for the soldiers fallen but still alive. But in that case, why couldn't I love her the same way I loved Catherine? It was as if some sort of chain shackled my soul, the chain of duty, making you leap into the fight with what remains of your strength, forgetting your real reason for battle. Fatherland, religion, love. It's easy to come up with a reason to heroically die, leaving a mark on history or at least in the memory of those close to you. It's much harder to come up with a reason to live, when the abstract concepts that flutter like banners over the enemy's stronghold disappear in the hazy smoke of daily existence. There is no meaning to my life. I just wanted my accomplishments in the battles past recognized. Abandoned by everyone, blinded by the faded flashes of the once great feeling, I wandered aimlessly through the now empty battlefield. I no longer believed Himitsu could save me. Why would she need a mortally wounded cripple? Neither did I believe that I would be able to find my weapon, my hand, and charge forward to the distant goal. Hoping not even to win, but to die, grasping happiness in my last moments. Whew. That is actually a long one, and my throat is already dried up. Anyway, how was it, guys? Leave the comments below. Hey Nick, you asleep or something? Hmm? I was generally prone to daydreams, but they didn't rule my life, remaining on some existential level. Otherwise, I would have long lost myself to alcohol or taken my own life. I would normally call you a people person, but today you're just pitiful to look at. Well, thank you for the concern. Is this about Catherine? Kyosuke said. Sorry. No fat shaming, please. Kyosuke sat on my desk. It creaked. It even bent slightly. Alright, no fat shaming. Come on, Nikolai. Man, you fat ass. Are you trying to cause an earthquake? I pushed him aside and laughed. I see you're lively as always. Michael approached us. Well, I can't speak for Nick. Alright, let's go eat or something. I just wanted to distract myself from my gloomy thoughts for a bit. Oh look, a student. Today, we didn't need to elbow our way through the cafeteria. Kyosuke knew everyone around. Not to mention the chubby young man had a great relationship with all the women there. Ooh, lover boy. We were sitting in the middle of the hall like kings, which made my Japanese friend look especially funny. All of that slightly improved my mood. Did you watch the game yesterday? Michael asked, lazily poking the rice with a spoon. You bet. Of course. You know, in the third inning, I never understood the Japanese obsession with baseball. Or rather, I couldn't understand the point of the game in the first place. Sure, it wasn't hard to remember the rules, but I was always more interested in the more traditional sports. Football, basketball, hockey, excuse me. And here were Michael and Kyosuke, USA and Japan. Perhaps the only two countries where baseball was popular at all. So their conversation was starting to really bore me. Guys, give it a rest already. You can propose a different topic. Michael easily parried. What topics could I possibly have? It would quickly return to being as bad as it could. My recent agonizing thoughts overwhelmed me again. Nick, don't be like that, Kyosuke mumbled sympathetically. I agree. You need to keep thinking positively in any situation. I was morally exhausted, tired of all these thoughts, and didn't have any strength left to get angry at them. Like you'd understand. Sometimes, simple support is enough. Yes, Nick, we're your friends after all. Guys, it's not so simple. Psychologists say you can't keep everything inside, Kyosuke said didactically. I don't see any psychologists around here. Sometimes you can get it off your chest with someone you're close with. Michael looked as imperturbable as ever. Of course, there was nothing strange in my friend's desire to help, but I couldn't get rid of the idea that they had goals of their own in mind. With Kyosuke, it was obvious. Curiosity. He was like a suckerfish, feeding on hearsay and rumors about the lives of others. He even had something like an information network in the school. I like to believe said network would start gossiping about my life as well. But although it was pretty simple with Kyosuke, Michael, on the other hand, he was diligently pretending to be interested in my situation just because, but somehow I felt like that wasn't the case. Well, let's say you don't exactly know. It took me a bit to find the right words. The backstory. Maybe, he responded coldly. Well, I'll tell you then. Not a big. It took just a short glance for me for Kyosuke to hush up. It's not a secret or anything. It's just. But really, what did I have to hide? Our past relationship with Catherine wasn't a secret. In reality, many people in the school knew about it, and I was acting as if I wanted to preserve something sacred, something only I and maybe also Katja knew. It was stupid, but at that moment I couldn't act any other way. The unpleasant conversation somehow died out, and we finished the lunch in relative peace. Oh, the bell. The lessons dragged on at a painfully slow pace, but at long last the final bell rang. I was slowly packing the books. Sorry. I was slowly packing the books when Himitsu materialized near my chair as if having jumped out of a transwarp. Wait, what? Transwarp. A term from the Star Trek universe associated with some technologies allow utilization of speed to exceed traditional warp drive limits. It's fast. Honestly, I have no idea what Star Trek is, but yeah, I guess I have to take a look on that one. Nico-kun, let's go home together? She gave me a cute smile. As cute as always, and I'd say much cuter than in the past several days. I had nothing against going home, but I couldn't get over the fact that I'd never found out where Catherine had gone. But what could I do? There seemed to be only two logical solutions. To go where she'd been living before, or to try to find her mother. On one hand, there was a certain chance they'd return to the same flat they'd been using before. Why not? It was most probably an ambassadorial apartment. On the other, Her mother was a relatively famous person, so in theory it'd be easy to find her. But at the same time, the nasty voice of reason in my head was whispering that Catherine had only missed school for one day and that it was too early to panic. Hey, hello, Earth to Nico-kun. Yeah, sorry, I was daydreaming. Oh my god, three choices. Uh, mm, go home. This whole thing was weird. I had waited for a year and a half and now couldn't endure a single day. Catherine could have dozens of reasons to skip classes today, and most probably none of them were connected to me. Let's go. Himitsu looked somehow too content. I wanted to ask what happened but couldn't bring myself to. As if following a habit, I was making up a believable lie, anything just to not tell her the truth. But what in the world did I have to fear now? After all, I decided not to fuss about Catherine. I probably just got too used to keeping my true feelings hidden from Himitsu in futile attempts to prevent myself from hurting her. What are you thinking, Nikokin? Well, I... Here I go again. Just school. There's barely any bit left, and then it's adulthood. I smiled to somewhat smooth out the seeming gravity of the topic. Long overdue. Well, it's more complicated for me compared to you. Why's that? You made your choice long ago. You want to teach Russian, but I don't know yet. For some reason, Himitsu blushed but kept looking at me just as intently. Better sooner than later. I have more time to get ready too. I'm not arguing with that, but that's all well good when you know who you want to be. And to be honest, I don't want to become anyone. Nico-kun, I'll go work retail for minimum wage and drink myself silly in the evenings. Nico-kun, fine, fine. If I become a teacher, we could... The end of the phrase lingered in the air. I mean, you could... What? Himitsu totally lost herself in the maze of her own unsaid words. But you used to have dreams and aspirations before. And when was that? I laughed. Before. She stomped her small foot as hard as she could and stopped. A year and a half ago. I don't recall. Of course you don't. She clearly meant when Catherine and I were still together. But who did I want to become at the time? The grief and pain seemed to have erased all other memories. No, I did, of course. Remember how good it was to be together, the moments of joy and happiness. But at the same time, I completely forgot the mundane, everyday moments. As if that whole period of my life was fixated on her. Catherine, Catherine, Catherine. Was I not eating, sleeping, going to school, talking to Himitsu then? I bit my lip in frustration. There was only one thing you cared about back then. What? You know what? Standard woman's capital suddenly sounded extremely fitting. Himitsu, come on, don't start again. Come on what? Don't start what? I guess I was so used to finishing her sentences in my head, I would say. Sorry. I was reflexively attributing words she never said to her. I don't want to fight, especially not without a reason. That wasn't at all convincing, so I took an extreme measure. I'm here now, with you. I'm not running after Catherine. It was time to put an end to our game of euphemisms. Where else would you be? Her reaction was unexpectedly calm. You're your own worst enemy after all. Well, if that's how you choose to put it. She smiled and walked on toward home. What the hell was that? Honestly, Nikolai, I don't know. Anyway, am I still recording? Yes, I'm still recording. Himitsu was sitting in my room doing her homework while I lay on the bed reading manga. It would seem like an absolutely normal sight if not for our conversation a couple hours prior. She was, however, acting as if nothing had happened. I felt uncomfortable to a degree, but decided not to get back to the topic as to not make things even worse. Okay, what is this? Okay, this is Russian. So I don't, I haven't learned Russian language before. So I guess I have to use Google Translate for this one, I guess. And don't worry, maybe after I edit the video, I could at least put the translation up here, so you could get the meaning of it. Nikokun, should I spell? Um, all right. Yeah, Google Translate will help on that one. Well, that depends on what you're talking about. The sentence is, what's this? Yeah, it's Russian. Yeah, translation will do the job. Then there should be an E. What are you writing? An essay. And the topic? Religion and Fate in Dostoevsky's novel, The Brothers Karamazov. Ooh, I never even read this novel. Can I be envious of Himitsu? Our school held classes for most of the common languages of the world, but I'd rejected the idea of learning Russian as my second language since day one. I was fine as this, wasn't I? Turns out I wasn't. So, is it interesting? Read it. You can find out for yourself. Is it long? Don't distract me, you've got your manga. The comparison of Dostoevsky to manga stung me even stronger. As you wish, my lady. I jerked myself up and went to the kitchen. More than a minute later, Himitsu was yet to show up. Was I really upset with her because the entirety of her life didn't revolve around me? Whatever. Evening was drawing near. Evening was drawing near. It was already time for dinner and Himitsu still hadn't finished her essay. Annoyed, mostly with myself, I dug into the refrigerator, emerging with several eggs and vegetables. I could at least manage an omelette. Not bad. Himitsu had a bite that complimented my cooking. How's Fyodor Mikhailovich doing? Uh, Fyodor Mikhailovich doing. Did I pronounce the name correctly? If I pronounced the name incorrectly, I would like to apologize, alright? I haven't learned Russian before, okay? So don't worry, don't worry. As long as I keep learning Russian language, as I keep on doing episodes like this, I'm gonna be good at it. Sooner. I don't know when. Well, he tackles matters more philosophical than scrambled eggs. It's an omelette. I clarified and started to chew with double the speed. No, it wasn't envy at all. Rather, it was shame. Yes, I was ashamed of being, in fact, absolutely pathetic even compared to Himitsu. And that smirk face? Why even? Did I really consider her just a piece of furniture? Will you lend me the book? Are you really interested? She marveled. Well, it is Russian literature after all. But there's no science fiction in it at all. That's not funny. I didn't want to upset you, Himitsu uttered sadly. I'm not upset, but since when you're interested in things like this? Well, I mean, I understand that you've been for a while, but not so heavily. This is philosophical literature you're reading already, and you're younger than me. I tried to talk calmly, but my voice sounded a tone higher than it should have. But I'm not younger than you. I just went to school later. Maybe, but still. Nikokun, is something wrong? Everything's fine. Everything's just wonderful. First, Kacha returns out of the blue. Now I turn out to be the dumbest student in the school. Caddy-chan. That's where I realized I'd said too much and my fit of righteous anger. Catherine, it just came up like that. Mitsu put her chopsticks aside and stood up from the table. Don't worry, it's okay. I'll go. Himitsu, wait, you misunderstood. Nikokun, it's alright. I just thought that what you said earlier today. I'll go. Her face expressed nothing, and I just didn't know what else to do. Till tomorrow, she said, still coldly, and left. It looked like I really was the dumbest. Whatever I said, it only made things worse. Meanwhile, the sky grew completely dark. had most probably lived through worse days, but today was, on top of it all, also completely meaningless. I didn't manage to find Catherine, but did manage to get into a fight with Himitsu. How typical of me. If an idea gets into my head, I press forward with manic stubbornness, paying no attention to consequences or collateral damage. In the manga Kyosuke liked so much, heroes would rarely choose the path of least resistance. Contemptible is what some of them would say. Cowardliness is what others would add. But I'd say that everyone decides for themselves if the means justify the ends. Let's say I were to get Catherine to explain herself. Wouldn't that completely upset my relationship with Himitsu? And there was still the matter of the calls and the note. Was I really in danger? In any case, at the moment my head was filled with something completely different. If nothing changes with Catherine, and Himitsu never forgives me, then please do kill me, is what I thought. But if I were to give up now, would that really be the end of it? I tried to put myself in Himitsu's place. That didn't seem plausible. How would it look from her point of view? Without finding anything out, he just forgets about Catherine and keeps living as if nothing happened. Although it seemed to me that Himitsu would be quite alright with this scenario. Well, perhaps she would know. But we're not 7 years old anymore. Something like this might fly once more. Twice maybe. And then she'd just go away, cry it out, and leave everything behind as just another childhood memory. I barely believed my own logic, but driven by a surge of fear, kept piling up every remotely plausible theory. I felt ashamed about Himitsu, but at the same time, couldn't keep Catherine out of my head. Although after the events of the past day, I wasn't sure about my feelings toward her either. At least not completely. I was just tired. Some sleep, these feelings would fade away. Only to come back tomorrow? No, I couldn't keep going like this. I needed to find her and let her go, or... At that moment, I didn't want to think any further. Maybe I was afraid, but what the hell did it matter? The last car drove down the street, its tires creaking quietly, and my district sank into pre-dawn silence. Whew, alright. Another day for Nikolai as well. And perhaps after this, I'm gonna have to save the progress here, and I'm gonna have to continue the video maybe on the next couple of days, I'd say. September 12th, 1987. Okay. Alright. I gotta save this thing up. And that's it for the 6th episode of Love, Money, Rock and Roll. And I guess that's pretty much anything about it, so I guess I have to make another video maybe a couple of days ahead. I just don't want to overdo things too much on my channel. And yes, I haven't even made a single video in Genshin because I'm getting tired of it. And my PC is having an issue right now, so maybe I should be careful next time. Same goes with the AVR as well. But thank you so much guys for watching. And also thank you for joining with this F6th series of this playlist I'm doing right now. So don't forget what I said earlier, smash the subscribe button, and also hit the notification bell to get notified for the upcoming videos in my channel. That also includes with the series that I'm doing, and also hit the like button if you find this video enjoyable. So, I guess that's it then. See you guys in the next video. Take care and stay safe. Goodbye.